Disclaimer. This story contains mature themes intended for adult viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. His hands didn't ask, they claimed. One moment I was standing by the counter, still catching my breath from the argument-turned laughter we'd been having, and the next I was lifted, pressed against the cool granite as though gravity itself had conspired with him. My dress clung to me, whispering along my skin as he pushed closer, his chest warm, his breath steady but heavy, like he was holding back something wild. The kitchen lights glowed low, painting the room in a haze of gold, and every shadow seemed to blur until all I could see was him. His eyes never left mine, not once, as though searching for permission he already knew I'd give. And yet he waited. That look, the one that burned hotter than words, spoke of hunger, of patience, of knowing exactly how to unravel me without saying a thing. His lips brushed the corner of my jaw, slow, deliberate, as if testing how much I could take before breaking. Each kiss trailed lower, teasing, never rushing. My pulse pounded louder than the faint hum of the refrigerator, and the world shrank to this one space, this one moment, his mouth tracing a line of fire down my skin. My fingers curled in his shirt, trying to anchor myself while he was unraveling every bit of control I thought I had. The air grew heavier, each second stretching longer, each touch sharper. The silence wasn't empty, it was alive, vibrating with everything we weren't saying but both understood too well. And then he stopped. Just there, hovering, his breath grazing me, his eyes fixed on the way my chest rose and fell like I couldn't get enough air. That pause, God, that pause, made the anticipation unbearable. He smiled, not with his lips, but with his restraint, with his power to make me ache by doing nothing at all. My heart hammered. My body screamed for him to continue. And yet, in that moment, he just looked at me. And I knew something was about to happen that would change the night forever. But you'll have to imagine where the story goes from here. The silence between us wasn't empty, it was electric. Every shallow breath I took seemed to echo, bouncing off the kitchen walls, reminding me of how close he was. His thumb brushed the side of my thigh, almost absent-mindedly, but the touch sent a current rushing through me. My dress shifted with the movement, and suddenly the space between us felt thinner, more dangerous. He leaned in just a little, enough for me to feel the warmth of his lips without the kiss. My hands, no longer steady, rested on his shoulders, fingers curling into the fabric of his shirt as if they had a mind of their own. His scent wrapped around me. Something familiar, comforting, but laced now with the kind of intensity that made my chest tighten. When he finally whispered my name, it wasn't loud, it wasn't demanding. It was low, soft, almost reverent. The sound sank into me, as though it had been meant for the deepest part of me to hear. My heart skipped, and I didn't realize I had been holding my breath until the air rushed back in. Every move he made was deliberate. His hand slid along the counter behind me, closing the space, caging me in without force. Our eyes caught again, and for a second neither of us moved. That pause, the way his gaze lingered, was almost unbearable. He wanted me to feel it, every ounce of tension, every unspoken thought. I shifted, just slightly, and the motion brought my knee against his hip. It wasn't planned, but the contact lingered. His lips parted, a flicker of something untamed flashing across his face, before he leaned in closer. The distance was gone now. His breath mingled with mine, each inhale tangled, each exhale shared. The kitchen was no longer a kitchen, it was a cage of heat, of restraint teetering on the edge of breaking. He tilted his head, and for a moment I thought he'd give in, that he'd erased the last line between us. But he didn't. Not yet. Instead, he pulled back just enough to make me chase the space he left behind. And that was worse because now I knew exactly how close we were to crossing into something we couldn't undo. The air between us was so heavy it felt like breathing took effort. My chest rose and fell against his, and the thin space that still existed was dissolving with every heartbeat. His hand lingered on my waist, thumb tracing an absent circle as if he were testing how much of me he could claim before I broke. I tilted my head back, and the small movement brought his mouth so close I could feel the ghost of a kiss without ever receiving it. My lips parted on instinct, betraying me, and his gaze dropped to notice. The flicker in his eyes was dangerous, like watching someone fight against their own restraint, knowing the outcome was inevitable. His other hand came up slowly, brushing a strand of hair behind my ear. The graze of his fingers left fire in its wake, and for a moment I forgot where we were. The kitchen counters, the hum of the lights, the night itself, all of it blurred, leaving only him. My pulse quickened as his breath warmed my skin, each exhale grazing down my cheek, my neck, pausing just long enough to make me wonder how far he'd go if he let himself fall. I caught his shirt tighter, not pulling him in, not pushing him away, just holding. My body spoke before I could find words, leaning into the danger of his closeness, surrendering in small pieces. His lips hovered, brushing the barest edge of contact, never enough to satisfy, only enough to drive me higher. When he whispered again, his voice was rougher, the tension leaking through each syllable. The sound sent a shiver through me, and I swore my whole body was answering, urging him closer. He lowered his forehead to mine, and for a beat it felt like the world stopped spinning. And still he didn't cross the line. He lingered, his breath ragged, his body pressed close but not completely, as if he enjoyed watching me unravel in the suspense. The danger wasn't in what he did, it was in what he refused to do. I could feel it, the breaking point was near. One more look, one more accidental touch, and there'd be no holding back. The silence cracked under the weight of our breathing. Every inhale dragged me closer, every exhale tangled us deeper. His forehead pressed to mine, and for a second, it felt like he was battling something fierce inside himself. His jaw flexed, his chest rose sharply, and his hand tightened on my waist like he was holding back from going too far, or from finally letting go. I shifted just slightly, the motion brushing me against him, and his breath caught. The reaction was instant, raw, impossible to hide. My heart stumbled and I swallowed hard, realizing I wasn't the only one dangling at the edge of restraint. His lips hovered at the corner of my mouth, the barest hint of contact that wasn't a kiss, wasn't nothing either, it was maddening. His thumb slid higher along my side, tracing the fabric of my dress as if mapping out the exact line he wanted to cross. The touch burned, deliberate, the kind that seared itself into memory. My fingers gripped tighter at his shirt, pulling him fraction by fraction closer, though neither of us moved fast. We didn't need speed. The slow unraveling was more dangerous, more intoxicating. His breath came ragged now, hot against my skin, and I swore every nerve in my body was tuned to him, waiting, begging, trembling with the suspense. He lowered his head, lips brushing my neck, lingering just long enough for my body to arch without thought. My eyes fluttered shut, and the world blurred, swallowed whole by the pulse pounding in my ears. I felt the whisper of a smile against my skin, as though he knew exactly what he was doing to me, how close I was to shattering. When he pulled back, his eyes met mine again. They were darker now, heavy with something raw, something almost dangerous. The way he looked at me wasn't just hunger. It was a promise of what would happen when he finally stopped holding back. We hovered there, trembling on the edge. Every second stretched thin, every small shift threatening to tip us over into something explosive. And just when I thought he'd finally give in, he paused again, smiling faintly, wickedly, leaving me breathless, suspended at the very brink. The world had narrowed to nothing but his breath, his hands, the weight of his body hovering against mine. I was suspended in that fragile place between wanting and breaking, trembling under the pull of something too strong to name. His lips grazed mine, just enough to leave me desperate, and I swore that one more heartbeat would be the end of my control. And then a sound, the faint click of the front door lock. We both froze, the atmosphere shifting in a snap. His grip tightened reflexively at my waist, holding me still as if even the smallest movement would give us away. My chest heaved, not from fear, but from the shock of being caught at the brink of something we hadn't yet crossed. He didn't step back. He didn't let me go. Instead, he leaned in closer, his mouth brushing my ear as he whispered, "Don't move." The command wasn't loud, but it sent a shiver through me stronger than any touch so far. Footsteps echoed faintly down the hallway. Each one stretched the tension tighter, sharper, more dangerous. We weren't just standing on the edge anymore. We were balancing over it, daring gravity to pull us down. My heart raced so violently I was sure it could be heard outside the kitchen. His thumb stroked along my hip, deliberately slow, as if reminding me that whatever threat lurked beyond that door didn't erase what was happening here. If anything, the interruption made it burn hotter, more reckless. The forbidden edge had sharpened into something almost unbearable. The footsteps paused. Silence thickened. He pressed his forehead back to mine, eyes locked, daring me not to break. The temptation wasn't just about him anymore. It was about what it meant if we gave in while someone else stood only steps away. The danger of discovery wrapped around us like fire, suffocating and thrilling all at once. I swallowed hard, my nails digging into his shirt, torn between pushing him back and pulling him closer. The longer we stayed frozen, the more impossible it felt to stop. My lips parted in a shaky breath, and his gaze dropped, dark and consuming, as though the threat outside only fueled his restraint snapping. The silence shattered with the faint creak of a floorboard. Whoever was there had stopped moving, but they hadn't left. The tension coiled tighter than ever, binding us in a space where retreat was no longer possible. My pulse thundered, every nerve alive with the unbearable mix of fear, desire, and anticipation. He tilted his head, lips brushing mine but never fully claiming, and whispered, almost daring fate. "Now tell me, do we stop?" I couldn't answer. I didn't want to, because whatever was about to happen, it wasn't just dangerous anymore. It was inevitable. The footsteps stopped just outside the kitchen, and for a heartbeat, I thought time itself had frozen. His hand tightened at my waist, my fingers knotted into his shirt, and the thin string of restraint we'd been clinging to finally snapped. His mouth crashed onto mine. No more teasing, no more hovering. The kiss was hungry, urgent, as though all the waiting had been nothing but fuel for this moment. My back arched into him, pulling him closer, desperate to erase the line we'd been circling for too long. Heat surged through me, a tidal wave that drowned out everything but the taste of him, the pressure of his body, the sheer recklessness of it. The kitchen dissolved into sparks, into gasps, into the thunder of my pulse. His hands roamed with purpose now, gripping, pulling, claiming every inch as if he'd been starving and finally allowed to feast. My breath came ragged, broken between kisses that grew rougher, bolder, more dangerous. There was no space left, no hesitation, only the fire we'd both tried and failed to control. And then a voice, sharp, cold, from the doorway. "Well, I see I came home at the wrong time." We froze, lips still inches apart, hearts still racing, but everything around us crashed back into focus. My head snapped toward the sound, and standing in the shadows was someone I hadn't expected to see. His brother. The shock slammed into me harder than any kiss. His brother's eyes locked onto us, unreadable, but burning with something sharp, anger, betrayal, or maybe something far more complicated. The air thickened, no longer just with desire but with danger of another kind. He didn't let me go. His hand stayed firm on my waist, his chest still pressed to mine, as though daring the world, daring his own blood, to try and pull us apart. His eyes flicked between me and the figure in the doorway, and instead of retreat, his jaw set with grim defiance. The kiss had shattered restraint. The revelation shattered everything else. And in that moment, suspended between passion and fallout, I realized this wasn't just our secret anymore. It was war. The room felt carved in two, the heat of his body pressed to mine and the icy weight of his brother's stare. My pulse still thundered, though not just from desire now, but from the collision of passion and consequence. His brother stepped further into the light, his expression shifting. Anger? Yes, but something more layered, something unspoken. I braced for a storm. Instead, silence wrapped around us like a second skin, every second dragging sharp as glass. Finally he spoke. "I'll give you this much. You never do anything halfway." His tone was clipped, but underneath it was a note I couldn't name. Resentment? Admiration? Maybe both. And then, without waiting for an answer, he turned and walked away, the door slamming shut behind him. The sound echoed through the house, leaving the air charged, fractured, alive. I turned back to the man still holding me. His eyes burned not with regret, but with the same fire that had consumed us moments ago. He didn't apologize, didn't explain, just brushed his thumb along my jaw, as though anchoring me back into the moment that had nearly broken us. "We'll deal with that later," he whispered, voice rough with the aftermath of restraint gone. "But right now." His lips hovered over mine again, softer this time, though no less dangerous. I knew then that this wasn't a secret anymore. The fallout would come, tomorrow, next week, maybe sooner. But in that kitchen, on that counter, all that mattered was the fire still burning between us. The kiss that followed wasn't reckless like before. It was slower, deeper, deliberate. A claim, a promise, a warning all in one. It left me trembling, not just from passion, but from the certainty that life had just changed, and there was no going back. When it broke, I was breathless, his forehead pressed against mine once more. The silence wasn't empty anymore. It was full of desire, of danger, of everything waiting to explode just beyond the night. And as I clung to him, still caught in the echo of what had happened, I realized something undeniable. The story wasn't over. It had only just begun.